up. Ideally, we wouldn't have to go through all of the like this work because we're going to have all of the things set up. So all you have to do is click send on a request, and it'll get it done.
Great, I got that.
So that's the goal.
I got that in your spec, Lucian. You were going to write scripts that we just execute the scripts, and a planet will be unclaimed. Great, I love that idea. Okay, all right. Are you able to share your screen, and let's see if we can guide you through making a planet unclaimed.
Yeah. So it might be good to create a new collection, or maybe just create a new request for now. So essentially, what we're going to want to do to turn a planet into an unclaimed planet is access the function on the back end that modifies planets. So we have a function on the back end that actually changes the information stored under a planet object. And that function can be found in a multitude of ways. And I think the most straightforward way is to go to the serverless dashboard and look at the endpoint for that function.
Wait.
I could also potentially put the URL into the chat if you want. Or John, if you want him to look for it himself, that's also fine.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm assuming you know how to navigate serverless anyway, so it would just be looking through it. So that's the URL, but the thing is that URL, the last two elements do have to be changed to be the actual system ID and planet ID of the planet that you want to edit. Yeah, so, and then otherwise, setting up the request, you also have to set up your headers and set up your, actually, I think all of the headers are the same. You do have to set up your authorization and your body though. So as far as authorization goes, you need to go to the dropdown and select bearer token. It's like the fourth one down, bearer token. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and then the token itself, I'm also going to put that into the chat because it's extremely long. And it'd be better to just copy and paste it. So that's another thing that we use for security. That authorization allows us to make sure that only people that have actually been authorized by the Cognito user pool are able to edit a planet. And this is our main authorization part. So that might be the key to having any like an admin able to edit planets, John. That might allow us to be able to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, that was just kind of a side note. So now you also want to have the body set up. So the body for this kind of request, which is just updating a planet, like that's all this function does, is it changes the information of a planet. So go to raw, and you're gonna have to input the JSON of what you want the data to be. And now we have a default like form of the data, or a default like we have default parameters for the data that allow it to be reset to like its original state. and I put that into the chat as well. And that is the JSON object, which has all of the default values. And now the only thing that you're going to have to like change is, well, there's three things. So one is the orbit radius. The orbit radius is essentially the distance from the star that it orbits. And you're going to have to set that to be the same as whatever the planet was that you are editing. So like you find a planet and you find like that planet in the database, and it has a certain orbit radius, which you can then keep the same, and then that way the planet doesn't get moved like towards or away from the star. And then you also need the system ID and the planet ID itself. And those get put into the URL. So it's system ID / planet ID, which is something that I'm going to I'm going to write all of this stuff down in the descriptions of the request. And then the last thing is you need to change the type of request from get to put, because it's modifying data. And once you're there, you're basically fine. And actually, can you go to headers real quick? I just need to make sure that the header is there. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Yeah, that looks good. So yeah, John put the address of the planet here. So essentially what you're going to want to do is you grab the system ID of that, and then you grab the planet ID of that.
It's the purple one, the fourth orbit out. Yep, that one.
Yeah, see, I don't necessarily have a good way of getting the orbit radiuses, or radii, I guess, other than going into the database and finding what it already is, or like performing a GET request on that that planet. So I also have a request that gets the information for a planet, which is what we use to display all of them and everything. And I could just do that right now just to give you what the orbit radius is. But in the future, we're going to have this as part of the general request. So I'll do that on this planet so I can just grab that data.
I already found it, Lucian.
Oh, perfect. Cool. Yeah.
Way to go, Ari.
Sweet. So as long as you keep that orbit radius, you are going to be able to keep the position the same when you actually edit it. It looks like there's a whole planet that got deleted in the somewhere in that system. So yeah, you keep the orbit radius the same, and then as long as you have the system ID put in there and then the actual ID of the planet, you're going to be good.
This is the ID, right?
Yeah. That's the ID of the planet, and then there is also the system ID.
This system ID?
I believe that's the owner's ID.
Oh,
The system ID is right below that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. And then if you send that request, it should return the same JSON object. Node character and header content. I wonder if there's that is the correct bearer token. So oh wait, actually, can you click that bearer token and then scroll to the bottom? Yeah, that is correct. Can you go to headers? Authorization. Can you add a header with the key of cache-control? It's capital C. Yeah, it's that one in the dropdown. And then can you put it to no-cache with no capitals?
No dash what, sorry?
No cache. So no, and then the first word of the key. C-A-C-H-E. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never seen that invalid character thing. Perfect. Yeah, so what this means is that you've reset that planet to be a blank planet. So if you go to it, and like if you refresh your page, you'll see that it is no longer there. Or it is there, but it should be unclaimed. Whoa. I have never seen that happen before. That's really interesting.
We put it in the wrong orbit. Oh, no.
Are you sure that you got the correct planet ID? Because that may or may not have just reset a different planet. And put it to that orbit.
Oh.
Can you just click Dylan's planet?
Can I click what?
Click the purple Yillin's planet. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna look in the. Well, actually, I'm gonna see if I can do it myself and if it'll do the same thing. And so this is the same URL as the one that you put into the chat, right, John?
Yes.
It is. All right. Let's do that. All right, so I just ran it on my Postman, and it looks like it was able to. It looks like it was successfully able to reset Yolen's planet without creating a new one. So I'm really curious as to how that's possible, because we have the exact same request. But essentially, okay, so you're still sharing your screen, right? If you do you see that the planet is no longer there? Are you?
Yeah, the planet is no longer there.
Yeah, so Yolen's is gone, but there's also a second one, which is that is so odd. Can I see your request again, actually? It looks like it just created a new planet in its place.
Oh, maybe I added a space at the end and that. Oh, yeah.
What was that?
There's like a new line character at the end of my request.
Oh,
Yeah. That probably was it.
yeah, I believe so. All right, cool.
Good
Yeah,
catch.
so yeah, that's perfect. Cool. Well, I'll remove that one from the database, which is that's fine. And otherwise that should be able to modify any planet now, as long as you put in the right information, which is just basically the radius and the identification stuff.
So Lucian, do I register? You have to delete that second unclaimed planet in the database?
Yeah, I'm just gonna remove that one directly from the database itself.
Great, okay. Good, fantastic. So the goal here is to have, in case we need to edit our IU quickly before a demo, we have now two people who can
Yeah.
can make that edit. So it's always good to have backup like this. Great, thank you, Lucian. Good work, Ari. So Lucian or Ari, do you like to share the PowerPoint, that the last one I sent you yesterday? And Ari, you were going to make some estimates on the modules that Lucian